Tom T says, can't wait to hear from Jest. He was a big part of that monstrous UK hip-hop period in the 2000s with Skits, The Low Life Artist, Rodney P, Skinny Man, Foreign Beggars, etc. We'll be with Jest shortly. Out to Be With Records. And Sarah from Preston, who remembers those Monday nights at Bar Rumba, as well as the Metalheads Blue Note Sundays.
BBC Radio 6 Music.
BBC News at 4:30. I'm Nikki Cardwell. A 15-year-old girl has died after she was stabbed in Hexham in Northumberland yesterday afternoon. 16-year-old boy suffered serious but not life-threatening injuries and remains in hospital. Another teenage boy has been arrested on suspicion of murder. Peter Harris reports from Hexham.
For those who don't know Hexham, it's generally a very quiet market town, which I guess does illustrate that this kind of thing really can happen anywhere. We've heard a few words today from the mayor of Hexham, Derek Kennedy, expressing the shock. He said it's an absolute tragedy. He described the anxiety that parents here in Hexham feel on hearing this news, and he said this has knocked everyone for six.
A judge has adjourned legal proceedings against a 21-year-old serving soldier accused of terror offences until the Attorney General gives approval for the case to go ahead. Daniel Abed Khalif is alleged to have looked for information about an individual in the armed forces that could be used by someone preparing an act of terror. He's also accused of placing a hoax bomb in his military base. Flybe has collapsed into administration and cancelled all of its flights. Around 75,000 people are affected. 2,500 of them had tickets for today. The majority of the company's 320 staff have been made redundant. Chris Donnelly and his daughter were due to fly with Flybe to London this morning.
I kind of caught sight of an email as we were jumping into the car, and then as I was driving in, I asked my daughter just to Google Flybe, and then she read the message, the notice. I thought there are other flights to London, so we pulled over and we did book another one. And my heart does go out to the workers at Flybe, because these are terrible times for a lot of people.
The Welsh Government's issued a statement announcing the sudden death of Claire Drakeford, the wife of Wales First Minister Mark Drakeford. Politicians across the Senate have been sending messages expressing their sympathies. Israeli police say 2 people have been seriously wounded in Jerusalem after a 13-year-old Palestinian boy opened fire at them. The attacker was shot and wounded. The shooting comes a day after a Palestinian gunman killed 7 people near a synagogue. On Thursday, 9 Palestinians were killed in an Israeli military raid on the occupied West Bank. Dr. Ataf Al-Shaya from the University of Westminster says the US will try to calm the situation.
That's the hope, that they will be able to pressure the Israeli government to stop some of the measures that they have been taking. But I doubt this very much, because the Israeli government, particularly with certain elements within it, are very intent basically on accepting nothing except submission and surrender from the Palestinians, which is very, very unlikely. They have been resisting for a very long time.
6 Music Sport, and Leeds and Leicester are through to the 5th round of the FA Cup after beating Accrington Stanley and Walsall respectively. It's the first time that Leeds have made it to this stage of the tournament since 2016. 6 Music News, your next update is 5:30.
BBC Radio 6 Music.
Found hope in this lonely world. Will love grip me and it won't let go? I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul. I found hope in this lonely world. Will love grip me and it won't let go? I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul.
Looking back at the past, the rose-tinted glass, and how these young ones are growing up too fast, and how maybe you could muster up a few bars, a new homage to yesterday's superstars. The school of hard knocks was a hard school. So is my glass half empty or half full? I don't know if it's love or it's hate that I feel, but the one thing I know is that my heart's full. You can't fool when you already fell. An old man with many stories to tell. It was the best of times, it was the worst of times, the hardships and the glories as well. Another wish, another penny in the well. We sell our dreams but we ain't ready to rebel. A head of steam and a belly full of swill. Living for what you never did and never will. Feet dangling off of the Ferris wheel. Look ma, no hands, top of the world. But your ride is soon coming to an end. The truth is you don't get another turn. Word.
Found hope in this lonely room. With love with me and it won't let go. I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul. I found hope in this lonely room. With love with me and it won't let go. I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul.
Hey, I get the weight of paper tens too tight to throw smart. There's no way there's two shots in that. Walk on so slowly and followed by huge ambitions. Baloney stain Tommy Bahama, no tissues. Find me pissing on the doormat, you motorboard. Quickly after roundabout, Bob smiled more. I'm sat dashing sugar sachets in the diner. Kind of guys like I can find them as common as turkey dinosaurs. I find life worth living, kinda wish I did that. Fine lines in China white, went the other city. I'm over spitting till the rhymes turn to riddles. Trying to bell skid, don't tell them I'm not shit, it's just the sounds different. Give me the keys, I left my head to own. Same goes for every good that started, we scared of the phone. Progression's postponed till I grow done. Glasses, stone gaps, and getting nowhere at all.
I found hope in this lonely world. Will love grip me and it won't let go. I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul. I found hope in this lonely world. Will love grip me and it won't let go. I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul. I found hope in this lonely world. Will love grip me and it won't let go. I found hope in this lonely world. Now there's no pressure on my soul. Time moves fast, don't let this moment fade away. Make the most of what you got and don't hold on to yesterday. Cause life moves on, don't let your feelings get you down. Hold your head up high, remember, people make the world go round.
What's the album called? Got a name for the album?
More Calling Orson.
Calling Orson.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to go too bait on the reference and hop myself up, but if you, it's a reference to like an old TV show.
Okay.
And a stand-up and actor who's passed away now, and yeah, they had a couple of kind of catchphrases. One was Mork Calling Orson, and the other was Nanu Nanu. So if anyone know, if you know, in the words of Pusha T, if you know, you know.
Jest is with us.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me.
Good to see you. You've come down.
You too.
You came down on the train today.
I'm always running around, so yeah. And as you know, more power to Mick Lynch. Let me just make that very clear from any mention of the trains.
Yeah. Okay.
And I can say that as I'm the one shelling out these fares all the time. So I don't know where the money's going.
You are there for over 25 years. I was checking your list out, your releases out.
Wow.
Thank God for Discogs. They're pretty good. They're pretty on it, right?
They're great at aging me. Thank you, Discogs.
Well, it's aging you, but you know what I noticed, which was I thought incredible, was that you release music, whether it's an album of your own or as a feature, every year you've put music out.
Wow.
You never had a gap. There's no 13 missing.
I'd never thought about it like that. That's kind of cool to hear you say that.
You're the cornerstone.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I mean, yeah. How are you feeling? I mean, this new album's brilliant. I played the final track on the album, Skyline, which I think is incredible to open up the show today. Yeah. What's Jess saying these days? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I'm just in the thick of it right now. So but it's going good. So we'll see. It's when you're in the middle of campaigning and about to tour and whatever, you're just in the
frenzy of it, and actually sometimes this is kind of frustrating because you're not getting the creative time, and you start getting kind of a bit narky and and it's like, because most artists, if they don't get the creative time, they are moody people. So I'm kind of walking that line where it's good, it's all going good, but I'm also aware that, like, if I don't go make a little window somewhere to do something creative, because I keep missing it, I keep thinking tomorrow night I'll get that time, and then something's hitting me and I'm not getting to do it. So I'm in that weird, and it's always like that. It's when the tension's on you as an artist is the time when you're not getting to do the art. So then you get imposter syndrome because you're like, I'm not even doing it right now. I'm out here selling myself. So I'm in that phase right now.
In that phase now,
which is weird after sitting down for 2 years as well.
Why?
Because I was still putting songs out, but I was sitting down like everybody else.
Yeah.
So
I mean, the thing with you as well is that you've always sort of occupied different parts of the music world. Of course, UK hip hop. We'll talk about that in a moment. But you were doing poetry, right? You were doing things at the ICA. You were sort of turning up and doing lyrics here and there.
Yeah, I mean, I'll wherever they'll have me.
Yeah,
I'll get in where I fit in. At the end of the day, because I think hip hop in general, I mean, beyond rap, but even if you just break it down to rap, it's got so broad now that then it just turns into kind of all these weird little kind of pockets. Like somebody might hear a song of mine, and to them that sounds more like spoken word than it does to what they think rap sounds like. Whereas in my head, I'm like, oh no, this is just some hip hop. In my head, I'm in that kind of DITC, DJ Premier kind of old school, like 90s kind of true school mindset. But then how people interpret it is again, completely different. So, it's you see how it works. It's like as things shift one way, that's the context that you're defined by. So say, for example, when the grime thing became the main focus in the UK, that instantly kind of framed anything that wasn't grime as being some kind of avant-garde, even though it might not necessarily have been. It might have actually been some of the rawest,
Sure.
it was so it's stuff like that where the way the place for what you do is always kind of moving with where the culture's moving. But if you're active and you're doing stuff, then
you've been through a lot of cycles. You've been through sort of moments. I want to quickly take it back to pre-2000 and who is Jest, where are you living, how are you getting into hip hop, what is the state of hip hop at that time, how important is it, where is it in your life?
I got into it quite young, like younger than most people would kind of take that much of an interest in something like that. And so that's kind of mid to late 80s. And probably, I was just discussing this with a friend of mine the other day, and I was saying I think probably the first thing that I remember hearing is La Di Da Di, Slick Rick, Dougie Fresh, Slick Rick, and that the impact of that being that it's just beatbox and a voice, and that it was kind of this instantly accessible thing. I also realised recently that remembered a particular like Run DMC video where they had a video for Rockbox, and they just had like this random white kid in the video who's like hanging out with them, and that I was like, maybe that kind of triggered as a child to go, oh, this is that kid looks like me, like this is for me. Whereas at the time everything was kind of like hair rock, right? At that time, kind of what was mainstream. If you were growing up in the 80s, it wasn't particularly relatable. So I think hip hop was just weirdly very relatable to me from early. And so I remember all the eras of like UK rap before I was doing what I was doing that I feel like people have forgotten about. It's funny, it's very rare it comes up. I remember one time being on 279 show back in the day and starting to talk about that, and when we came off air, he was like, I'm so glad you said all that, because I can't say all of that because people just act like tell me I'm living in the past or whatever, it's not relevant. But I think coming up on 50 years of hip hop, we should be giving a nod to this. UK guys rapping did not start with grime. No disrespect to grime, and it didn't start with us either. It started in the late 80s, you know, and records were coming out of London and other parts of the UK, but hip-hop rap records were coming out of London in the late 80s, the same way they were coming out of New York and LA, but probably not many other parts of America. So I think that part is like so overlooked in the narrative, or even something like how, and you'll be able to attest to this, the way something that even like Soul to Soul, Back to Life, it's not really like a UK rap song, but you can't say that's not a UK hip hop song, right? So this kind of place that hip hop has always had in popular, or at least for me, I've been able to see it. It's never seemed alien. And then I would be that nerdy kid kind of like getting the record sleeve, and if there's a phone number, ringing the phone number. So I ended up getting in touch with artists when I was really young, and it'd be like, can you get me into the show? And people would be like, wow, this kid's ringing us up and he wants to come to the show. People like, I have to shout out Blade. Blade was to this day, Blade is a huge supporter. If anyone, most people will know him from the Mark B and Blade era, but then he was a solo artist for years. People like Gunshot, people like The Brotherhood, even there's a group from Rochdale from back in the day called Caliphs, who were produced by DJ Muggs from Soul Assassins. And you tell people that nowadays, they'd be like, what are you talking about? Some guys from Rochdale were produced by DJ Muggs. Amazing. At the height of Cypress Hill, kind of, at their peak. So there's all these weird little pockets to it that people kind of just don't, either they don't know or they've chosen to forget. I don't know. So to me, it's always kind of been around, and I've just been gravitating to it, and then just learning the skill set.
What was your first ever hip hop show that you went to as a young person?
Definitely it was the Tougher Than Leather tour. So it was Run DMC headlining, Public Enemy. Would there have been another? I feel like I want to say like there was a UK support, but I don't remember. I seen it in Brighton, right? So because I was like when I was really young, I was in different parts of Sussex. So that was the closest thing was Brighton, and thankfully like my mum told my dad, no, take him, and they took me and my friend to go see Run DMC Public Enemy at the Brighton Centre, maybe?
Yeah, main event, maybe? Main event, that place. We were talking about it the other day.
This is like...
What year is that?
It must be... What's Tougher Than Leather? 89? Nah, it's got to be later than 89 maybe.
Well, look, it had a huge impact on Jest. He's my...
for sure.
He's our guest today.
Thanks, Dad. Thanks, Dad.
Thanks, Dad. Thank you, Jest. Let's play this song. This is being hammered on Radio 6 Music at the moment, and it's a new single from Jest. We played it last week. Massive response, actually. People were loving this one. Do you want to intro it?
One Horse Town, taken from the album More Cool and Awesome, featuring Confucius MC and Eva Lazarus.
Just a twinkle in your parents' eye. Don't you know that Joni Mitchell never lied? Put up a parking lot, they paving over paradise. We really ought to take the time to analyze. The theory is to find out where your talent lies. Provide the children with the exit sign. You might score the winning goal in extra time. Jesus, let me testify and find his strength. This could be the difference between life and death. From the fire to the frying pan, the iron chef. The poet pledging my devotion till my dying breath. One horse town, I made my home. Say
I'm rallying, caught in the migraine. Old paradise on my back, doing it my way. Rappers get sidechained, an old story. The player now becomes a casualty of a dice game. From the alcoves of art where we shout goals, some bounce quotes, gatekeepers standing at the outpost. Just another outcast, free stacking, rolling around trying to plug into the detachment. Drifting off for my own accord. In the city where they hold the sword, bowing to the overlord. Begging and bowing just to hold some more. Find me twirling up a potent drawer of overlap oversaw. Trying to walk through the open doors, but getting caught up in the rope of dope trope. I guess I'm open more. Dust my kicks on the higher sands. Rolling bang in the highest land. Believe me, cause time is planned.
Reader in positions, I was on a mission. Slow it down, you must be kidding. Looking back, I see our rebels in the challenge. Looking down, I see how far up come I manage to make a diamond from the earth. Pressure made this kind of girl. Sometimes I miss the old world where I felt unobserved. An anti-social girl. One hand I count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. My real girls, yeah, they're the real ones. That's my word. Yeah, that's my word. Hey, I see the future and it's so bright. Build up my family, keep us all tight. I'm looking back and I see real fight. Not to go gentle into that good night and hear that R.I.P. because my foresight told me 420 we gon' be alright. I sip this cup of tea and read the leaves right. And in a few short years when you can read right, I hope you raise your voice and get the words right.
We've got the legend Mike Lewis in the studio today. Good to see you here. Mike tends to bring music to me of the highest quality on a regular basis. He's the one who told me there was a new Jest album around the corner, and this is a track taken from it. I mean, the guests on here are great as well. Tell us a bit about who you chose on the album, actually, and Eva, I suppose.
Well, yeah, shout out to Eva Lazarus. She just dropped her. She's had album-length projects, I think, with Mungo's Hi-Fi, if I'm not mistaken, but I think the one that she just put out, Brandy Kisses, was her first official solo debut. So, you know, big up her, because I've seen her, I actually did a post recently, and I don't do stuff like that, but I was like, I'm going to do a little post just to say, you know, I've seen her from day one. An artist called Brother Man brought her to the studio super early, like she was green. You know, super shy, in and out the booth, gone. Like, it was, you know, had a friend there and stuff supporting her, and it's like, wow, look at her now. She's just killing, like, just shelling it. So, yeah, she's smashing it. Recent releases with DJ Yoda, I believe. She's been doing a bunch of stuff. She's all over the Swindle
I love the
project a little bit back.
Zed Bias
stuff.
Yeah.
So she's killing it. Confucius MC, he's actually all over the album. He's on a bunch of tracks. And it's a funny story because I've put out a couple of records for him, like his solo projects. But my introduction to him was through the Con and Quake project, and that's been going for like years, but they only just dropped an actual album as Con and Quake. It was the end of last, I was going to say this year, end of last year.
Native Rebel, yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, it's great seeing that, you know, them get their shine in, you know, as a duo like that. Because it's been on, you know, again, I've seen that, not necessarily from fruition, because they've been doing that for a long time. They were already had a lot of material when I first linked up with them, but that's the whole introduction, was Quake. Me hooking up with Quake to play for a band I was putting together for my tour at the time, and him being like, you've got to meet my boy Confucius, you and him. You know, he had this vision, and it's kind of coming to fruition because he's ended up, you know, being on the label and all over my album. He was all over the last album, Billy Green Is Dead, as well. So yeah, and you know what, I've just got to shout out, while I'm talking about Quake, I just throw this one out there. Another twist in that story is that then when Quake was playing for me at that time, we were playing Jazz Cafe one time. We came out of the sound check, everyone went in separate ways to get food, whatever. He called me up, he said, I just bumped into MF Doom at the Cash Point, can you put him on the guest list? And I'm like, alright, okay. And he said, no, can you do it? So I was like, okay, so I'm calling the venue or whatever and going, okay, can you just like whatever, and I didn't really think anything of it until later. No one knew whether he was there, because it's the whole no one knows he's there if he hasn't got the mask on. And then a little bit later he hit Quake up with the footage of like he was there, and was like, and that was how Quake then was invited to drum and tour for Doom. If people don't know that, but Quake Bass was like drumming for Doom and did a bunch of his kind of European runs over those kind of sadly final years. So mad little kind of twists in you know.
Love those. William Shields, Jest, is in the studio. UK rapper, co-founder of hip-hop label Young and Restless Productions, bursting onto the scene in 1999. New album, Mork Calling Awesome. Let's take it back to the early days right now.
Let's do it.
Years ago, before space travel was either near or real, writers were sending their heroes into orbit with their pens.
I'm the spaceman type, chewing meteoric porridge. The asteroid arsenal's beefing up my courage. The lunar base burglars, sunspots burn you up. I'll be shooting stars at Mars, the planet murderer. My spaceship's flying. A red dwarf alliance, drying up the Milky Way's galactic pirates. Sub-die astronaut, my mind can't be rescued. I sniff stardust, manufactured off Neptune. I'm the cosmic gypsy, tipsy from plutonian whiskey. This freaky alien from Pluto gives me my soldiers from the solar. Roll on you rapper dreads, like I heard the asteroids. Face my magnetic space shower. My debris clashes Jupiter, heavyweight powers. All my forces are nuclear, so keep your cursed distance. Feel when I snap like a Venus penis trap from Mercury and back. I'm known by the kingpins in drug rings of Saturn. You mess with this space fog and something's gotta happen. So grab the Southern Cross if that's any constellations. Some space stations so ish from Uranus, but they get demolished by the interstellar famous. Spaceman type from a section that's nameless. I'm the cosmic gypsy, welcome to my kingdom. The space is my wife and these planets are my children.
In my capsule, green escape pod, floating on through the velvet robes of some god. Radio is gone dead, I navigate past the plow, feel ecstatic. Like, hey bro, look at me now. Rough course traveling, infinite space palace. Open wonder face with aurora borealis type light shows. Diamonds where I tread on space carpet. Volcanic Erebus, brooding in the Antarctic. Show me a sign, a dock for the interplanetary flea market. Buy a frozen apple, I'll preserve for the shower when your ship gets hit. Burning up, I remember Earth chewing on the pips. Your lasers can't touch my track and I'm star synced with universal underground backing. The moon hopping massive and the cloud steppers. Plutonians, Saturnites, guided by satellites. My stellar compass is energy and mind state. Emit solar power, O2 and gyrate. Stay adrift. Ocean sound of 4 ships, sail my galleon, caravan timeline trips.
Farmer, stargazer, interstellar space chase, asteroid belt, waistline, lunar man, ace, universal supernovas, guide to the galaxy, hitchhiking, time bandit, seeking ET, sleepwalker in the stars, spirits of the skies, astrology reborn, with Taurus by my side. I free celestial latitude, sliding down black holes, my hemisphere magic brings spaceman snow. Stardust soar, great plow, sky harvest, satellite demolition, chicken runs with a TARDIS. My starship enterprise is interplanetary, with big banging theories from here to Pleiades. This summer solstice countdown to be solar. The moon's in the 9th house, an old star order. Angular planets descending from their birthplace. in tune with the infinite, desirable skyscraper, a cosmical period, a cycle of heaven, the biology of God, I tied a ribbon in the sky, atmospheric radiation, technological meltdown, orbiting planets for elemental powers found, my head's buried in volume, a space encyclopedia, supernature creatures, Brahma star healer, I watched the autumn equinox, then burned that titan, I bathe in moon rays that feel totally enlightened, in love with the stars, seduced by the zodiac, spaceman type farmers, universal map.
Yeah, can you remember who all the different MCs are on that one?
We just heard Chester P, Braintax, and Farmer G.
Brilliant.
And thank you for sparing me the embarrassment of having to sit here and listen to myself from 20 years ago. Yeah, no, I'm at the end, so we're good. You're good. You did me a favour there. I'm not doing that. No. Let's do that. Let's good. That's good. Let's stick with that.
No. We're gonna go.
Know me as a zoomorphic messenger who orbits the regular star Northern Nebula, storm cloud dweller, moon boot stepping on the interstellar path, letter trail of the lexicon, alphabet soup dragon, space suit sentinel, keeper of the stargate, my soul stays chemical, fold space in several places, zero gravitational fields, the stars plough my acres, I'm weightless now, in Mother Nature's imagination, escape the stasis of carbonite preservation, I occupy lunar bases, in moon craters that shield me from meteor storms and new dangers, cosmos conquistador crusaders, and space age saber-toothed tiger soothsayers, explore the dunes, we move with the spice miners, precise science, black holes and white giants, psychic net runners and android headhunters, cyberpunk spongy jumping off the third rock, mixing Smirnoff with dandelion and burdock, moon dew sipping stepchildren of the earth gods, my home's at heavens, I fell back to earth where electric sheep feed on the astroturf, I surf the network and my skin turns silver, metallic anatomy, the space probe builder, rainbow conceiver, I'm bleeding mercury, caught in a time warp, and all I see is burgundy, my fingertips glisten, gripping crystallized flowers, red and green sparkle, marvel at the powers, asteroid showers, interplanetary rainfall, brainstorm colour charts, the cosmic paintball, the mega blast, travel on the Battlestar Galactica, Jest, the invalid who infiltrated Gattaca,
I'm the cosmic gypsy, welcome to my kingdom, the space is my wife and these planets are my children.
I think it's brilliant to accept your history, and sometimes I hear old radio shows of myself and and the voice is a little bit higher, isn't it?
Right.
A bit too enthusiastic, but
very enthusiastic at that point, no doubt. I was like, yeah.
The beats on the music on this sort of whole period, I mean, the sample and the tunes that you would be using, you know, who were the producers back then? Who were the ones who had the best record collections, and how important was the music?
Incredibly, I mean, that I've got to give credit where it's due. That was a Braintax production.
Right.
So Braintax did the beat on that one. But for me at the time, my favourites were Lewis Parker.
Yeah.
Lewis Parker, Harry Love. There was a guy called Ben Grimm who didn't do a lot of records, but the records he did were great, and he put a lot of people up on some of the techniques and some of the machines, because we were very much just emulating the how is Q-Tip making a Tribe Called Quest record sound like that? How is DJ Premier making a Gangstar record sound like that? What are they using? What's the difference? Why doesn't mine work? Right? You know what I mean? But then you start, this machine, you get a grittier sound on the drums, or the bass filter in the 950, or all these little things. Even shout out El Dolo, even from Champions of Nature. So that was a big part of the ethos behind Champions of Nature, which was a short-lived crew back at that time, which was like Lewis Parker, myself, Sun Dragon, my boy Apollo. Shout out Apollo, still making incredible beats, just not really focusing on it as like the bread and butter, just doing it for himself. The music was,
I mean, back then as well, there was no internet, right? Pretty much.
Right.
So you couldn't go and search and just pull out a track on YouTube and then go, I'll take that little bit. I mean, the producers were going record shopping, and they
definitely.
And in America, I do remember like people like Q-Tip and Dillo and all those people, they were mad collectors.
Absolutely. I mean, Yeah, names are escaping me now. That people that I should be shouting out, like all the Mr. Bongos guys, all the Beyond There guys, the creators. Mark B, rest in peace. Mark B was a beast. He was, with the digging and with the beats, and again, he was another one where, like, for me as one of the youngers, I'm looking at him and Lewis Parker kind of competing almost, friendly competition with each record. And yeah, it was a good time, and it was a time where, again, shout out Mr. Bongos again, because they would literally, if you had the right sound and it was what the customer base was looking for, and again,
they were the ones.
They were
the ones, because they had
hundreds and hundreds of units for us. So
but they had the independent hip hop, right? They'd be bringing the doom tracks in, all these weird abstract things on hip hop.
Definitely.
And then they'd also have the rarest of the funk and the collector stuff and the Latin and they were big up to Dave from Mr. Bongo when he used to be in Poland Street, right?
Exactly.
Poland Street back then. Excellent place. So, Jest, you got some shows coming up, right? You're back on the road.
I do. I have shows coming up very soon.
Yeah, you're about to go. So what is your show? What is it? Is it just old school DJ?
Yeah, I mean, right now, there's been different versions and different kind of, we've had a couple of different live bands that we've done with different musicians, and even...
Does it work? Does hip-hop work with drums, apart from the roots? Does it work with drums?
I think it does, but I think what I keep seeing people do is kind of do drums over drums.
Yes.
I don't understand how any music director is not getting sacked.
Right.
No disrespect, sorry anyone, but again, another shout out to Quake Bass, because Quake Bass is deep on the music director game, and he's not playing drums over drums. He's making it
he's making it work,
making sure everything is in its place. If this one needs to be on a programmed sound or a drum machine, then we got the drum machine. If this one needs to be the kit, we got the kit, but not this kind of just trying to drum over the PA mix.
But so these shows you've got coming up, what is it?
This is DJ Jazz T, who's like an absolute legend out here, been DJing for everyone for as long as any of us can remember. Confucius MC is going to be joining me to do some of the stuff off the album, probably a couple of bits of his record.
You've got a big repertoire to drop out. When people come and hear you, what do they expect from you? I mean, how much of the new album, how many of the classics?
I force it on them. Every year I've made that a policy from early on, because I was well aware very early on that people are kind of straight away, you're known for that record, do that record. And there's a certain amount where you have to kind of cater to that. You're going to go see a certain artist. There's certain songs that you're going to want to hear, but I think hopefully, let's say for example, One Horse Town, nobody knew that record a month ago or 2 months ago or whatever, but now there's a whole bunch of people that know that record that probably don't know any of my other records.
You better bring Eva Lazarus on the road with you.
I think she's a little bit beyond that. Well, no, she's not beyond that, but I mean, I'm sure it was something that I definitely had the thought in the back of my head, but I was like, she's going to be under it with her own, she's ultimately just coming out of campaigning her own album. I'm not actually
when you drop it will go off. Jazz Cafe on the 9th of Feb, you're doing Hedgerow House in Leeds, you're doing the Ferret in Preston, Lost Horizon in Bristol, Subrooms in Stroud, Blues Kitchen in Manchester. We'll continue with more from Jest after this one.
Service couldn't save your soul. Seeking a savior blind, can't afford it in the battle for these hearts and minds. So lonely on this path of mine, see an image in the mirror that I can't define. True love is hard to find, till the fakers and haters are cast aside. bask in your everlasting light. My life has been the darkest night in the cemetery of dreams. Wait until my enemy's redeemed. Maybe only then I'll be at peace. The feeling when your energy's decreased, the defeat you've been ready to concede. Rest with the deceased, or wrestle in the deadliest disease. But love's the only remedy we seek. Just a few feet from reaching the peak. At my lowest point, I've never been as weak. God's telling me to speak this into existence before I lose myself in the system. Another number for the statistician. If hell is above and heaven is beneath, another chess piece for the algorithm. Come and look at mine, colours are combined. Kaleidoscopic images I conjure with a rhyme. But hustling for currency, I'm off with my mind. I don't wanna wake up, I'm running to the light. I'm running to the light, where everything is clear. I'm trying to find my God, I've got the devil in my ear. I'm running to the light, where everyone is free. I'm looking for the father figure I'm supposed to be.
Me, your father, you hear that? No, be a daddy. You must think about that. I guess you have to be prepared when you have a child. You must prepare yourself. Ready? It really does sober your ass up when you realize you'll have to 6 years from now be going, Daddy doesn't really know what he does for a living. What do you want for your birthday? Oh, I'm 30. Okay.
Find my way back home. Footsteps in the rain till I find my way back.
You didn't tell me who produced this record. What's the situation there?
I did this one, so pat myself on the back for this one.
yeah. So different people on the album, different beats.
Yeah, a few different people. Lonely World, which is the current single, was produced by a guy called Sam Zircon, who's got a decent little catalogue of kind of underground stuff with people like Capo and some of the Blah Records artists. A guy who's probably more known for rapping, Sonny Jim, he's done some production on some of the tracks on there.
Yeah.
One Horse Town is produced by a guy called Tahaka, who's actually based in Trinidad, but I know we went to school together in Huddersfield 100 years ago. There's just different collabs on there. Beat Butcher has got a track on there, so yeah, just different, whatever was happening in the studio that day, basically.
Coming to this point, 50 years of hip hop, which is crazy. 1973.
Right.
I thought it'd be probably more like 40, but yeah.
Right.
Was doing stuff back in 73, bringing it together.
They've got a specific date, haven't they? I can never remember it.
It's August 15th, I think.
There you go.
I know it lands during We Out Here, and I think and
so you're well aware of the clash.
I'm aware. No, I'm in a good way.
Right.
We got Simandy playing, and in a way, Simandy
brings it right.
And they were 1973 as well, and they were like the group from the UK who sort of hit that hip hop thing.
Right.
Well, the Americans thought they were American, and big group, right?
Absolutely.
But I wanted to ask you quickly just a question about the sort of state of hip hop in 2023, and obviously you are still in connection with people like Loyal Kana. You've done stuff with Ocean Wisdom. You're doing stuff with Joe Allman Jones. All these different people. Where is hip hop today, in your opinion? How do you feel about it? How proud are you from what you've done? And who is it that you're looking at right now of the new generation who are really flying the flag?
Wow. I mean, it's so broad because it's so broad now, and so I think that's the first thing that comes to mind in terms of to answer the question of like how I perceive where it is now. It's kind of just omnipresent. It's huge, but it's very. It's in all kinds of little kind of pockets. It's I would say, and I'm sure again you'll be able to testify to this. It's less of a kind of a single unified culture with a kind of ideology and a politics and all the other things that come with what separates a music genre from a culture. So I would say it's so in a way that makes it a double-edged answer. Actually, I'm just realizing as I say this, because in some respects the culture is weaker, I have to say, but then as a music genre it's bigger than it's ever been. And when I say weaker, I just mean in a way it's like it's inevitable, isn't it? It's like science. If you spread something extremely thin, it's gonna break, So I think it's an interesting place.
Have you been to a show, or have you listened to a record and you've gone, yes, this could have been, this is like this, I want to be friends. You know, I want to be.
Yeah, no. I mean, look. When I say that, that's not actually creatively and what people are doing. The actual musical output.
Yeah.
I think it's probably the best time ever. I think it's always the best time ever, and if it's not, then that's when we're doing something wrong. Brilliant. Do you know what I mean? I think the minute I feel like, oh, you know, it's not as good as it was in '96, or it's not as good as, you know, nowadays there's kids out here like, oh, it's not like it was in 2013, and you're like, what? Okay, but you know,
but the golden age was '97, right?
well, I mean, we'll then you start getting into we're putting date, because there is but people will put date. But for real, though, I know you're joking, but people have actually even argue
I know.
on what the dates of the golden era is, right? That's like, you could probably get Questlove on here and he'll talk about that for like 3 hours, like the argument of where I think, hasn't he got the whole theory of like the day that there's the same Wu-Tang and Tribe Midnight Marauders come out on the same day, and I think his theory is like that's the end, which is crazy in a way, because you're like, yeah, but that's two of the most impactful records that people associate. But you know, but then other people say, well, the golden era starts in 87, 84 even. So it depends, you know. It's broad, right?
It's broad, mate. Listen,
but in terms of people to do, I mean, I don't want to be sounding like one of them old heads. Oh, I don't listen. There's so many talented people. You've mentioned a bunch of people that I work with. Other people like Ono Capono, I think is incredible, and he should be a pop star to me. You know, Lee Scott, what he's doing, and I mean, he's writing books now, so he's just bigger than a rapper now. There's all, you know, you've got people like Little Sims now. She's like a household name, acting in Top Boy, but which is weird in a way because it's a complete antithesis of what her music represents and is about. But it's giving her probably a bigger platform for the music. So it's some amazing talent out here now, you know. And the industry is more developed. Still not enough ownership. Still not enough autonomy, but you know, that's the political side of it, you know.
Jest, we have got so much to thank you for.
Thank you
for standing up, for representing, for being consistent, for inspiring, for coming up with lyrics upon lyrics, beats upon beats. Can't wait for the live shows. Thanks for coming in and doing it live with us today. We're going to close it with this one, Front Door. The album is out when?
Friday the 3rd of February.
Looking at the front door, trying to find an antidote. Don't know if I want more, just me and my ganja smoke. Hey yo, looking at the front door, trying to find an antidote. Don't know if I want more, just me and my ganja smoke. I'm just trying to get the fettuccine for my daughter, but I'm feeling like I'm Jesus, how I'm treading water. Baby mama drama, all I ever hear. This one's gonna be the death of my career. Peanut butter jelly till I'm 70. We ain't never sell out to the enemy. Always had this hunger as a motivation. I just need to get a number for some medication. Sounding like the sun setting on paradise. Everybody practicing their alibis. I don't wanna be another single parent. Think of all the pain and everything I'm sharing. No wonder why I drink myself to sleep at night. A lullaby from the angels, we received the light. Maybe one day they'll raise a beer to the guy. A cherished memory to bring a tear to your eye. Every ghetto pigeon wanna fly away. Sitting by the window with the highest grade. Go and tell the preacher, let him testify. I'll be ready when the pressure is intensified. Tell it like it is, they judge us in this booth. The truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God, trying to survive the odds. Back against the wall to up in front of a firing squad. It's like you gotta be bulletproof. The price of rent is through the roof. We juggle in the hula hoop. That means we keep it moving or it falls down. But we too busy arguing with fools now. See the youngest falling for the fool's gold. growing from the concrete, she a stone rose. Kept a cold bed and turned a deaf ear. Cast away on this island, I was left here.